Right. Hello, my name is Brian Leising, and today's webinar is the real-time client analysis software coming to us from AIG, and we'll get to that in just a second. But for those of you who may not be familiar with financial brokerage, we are a national marketing organization working with insurance agents and financial advisors nationwide in areas of life insurance, long-term care, disability insurance, Medicare supplements, critical illness insurance, and annuities. We've been at this since the mid-90s. I've been here since 2001, assisting folks just like you. Today's webinar, as I mentioned, we're going to cover a specialized software that comes to us from one of our partner companies, AIG. Now, the great thing about this software is that you don't have to be contracted with AIG to use it. The website does not require a password. You just have to know where to go. And the software is very helpful if you're having a life insurance related conversation with a client or a prospect. You know a lot of things already, but we all forget things from time to time, and I'm sure if you're like me, you've ended a conversation and then 5 minutes later you thought, oh, you know what, I should have asked that person about this over here, and I should have asked this question, and well, why didn't I bring up that? And I wish I had a follow-up piece to send to this person, right, on a particular topic that came up, and you can't find it. Well, this website really solves all of those problems and gives you the tools right at your fingertips. So I know there's a little bit of a lag between my speech and what you see on my screen, but this is what the website looks like. It's called the Generation Station from AIG. I can send you a link there, or if you're able to write down the entire website address at the top, you'll be able to get there. But here's how I found it. Go to the old-fashioned Google search, type in AIG Generation Station, and really all you need to do is click on the first site that link shows up there. It'll say Generation Matters, and then from there, we're looking for is the Generation Station, which is going to be this purple link right here, Client Recommendation Report. So if you click on that, it's going to take you directly to the same page that I was already on. All right, so that's how you get there, or one way to get there. So what can we do once we're here? Now, this is designed so that when you're in a conversation with a client, you can input some basic information on the person, and it's going to prompt you with questions and statements, PDFs, calculators, a whole host of stuff that you might want to have available at your fingertips while you're speaking to the person. So I'm just going to give you a walkthrough of I think about 4 different scenarios, because as we change things in here, particularly the client's age, the results are going to change. And so with no client information, we have a blank page, right? We don't know what we have here. So I'm going to put in a fake name. We're going to call this person my client. And our first client, we're going to assume is 25 years old. And as soon as I put in the age, we see a lot of information that might be relevant for this person, right? It gives us their potential needs, which there's not a whole lot there because we don't know much about the client yet. It tells us that this person is a millennial, and it tells us some things about millennials in general. This does not apply to every millennial out there. But they really like to interact digitally. So hopefully you're not on the phone with this person, because if we look at their communication preferences down here, in general, they don't like phone calls, don't like letters. They may have never seen a letter. They don't like meeting face-to-face in general. Email's okay, but they really prefer to text. They really prefer social media. So in this case, you're probably texting information to this person. And it gives you tips on how to interact with them. It basically says you want to make sure that you're using technology along the way, and make sure you get referrals to people that they know, and provide all sorts of resources to them, and provide it electronically. Right? This is not a person that you want to hand a pamphlet or a brochure to. They probably don't know what that is, but you want to make sure you're sending things to them electronically. If we go down a little farther, we have already some resources available, and these might be items that you send to them after the fact, or maybe even during the text or email conversation. They've put together an infographic talking about potential needs of folks in the millennial generation. And just, again, this is something that is available to send out to the client, or maybe to advertise to people in general. One question they might have at that stage is, what's the difference between life insurance on my own or through my employer? My employer offers it. Why do I need to talk to you? Well, AIG has a piece put together that goes over the differences. And again, you could be communicating this directly with the client, or this could be something that you forward to them after your initial conversation. Right, so those are a few resources, but we can have more items appear here if we enter more data on the client. So as you're having the conversation with this person, you're probably going to ask if they're married. And let's say the person is married. Right away, it assumes that they have a mortgage, or that they have some debt, and that's another potential life insurance need. Let's say this person is a parent, and it hasn't changed much yet, but we need to put in what kind of children they have. So let's say this person has one child under 13. Now all of a sudden, we have some additional life insurance needs that pop into existence, providing support for minor children and ensuring a college fund at the death of a parent. We can get some more information, input on our client. What's their career status? At age 25, probably recently out of college, let's say they're getting started. And household income is probably not very high at this point in time, so let's mark the first category. And as you can see, we already have some additional resources that have appeared at the bottom here. Initially, we had the individual versus employer life insurance. Now we have a piece for the client that could help them determine how much life insurance they need. And that one's taking a little while to load right now. We might see it shortly here. Download error. That's taking a long time to load. Okay. There are some calculators out here. That one was just going to be a PDF download. But here, let's say we want to calculate their life insurance needs. It's going to take us directly to this life insurance calculator that AIG has put together. And these are just the default numbers. But input numbers, you can move the cursor on the slider, and it's going to give you approximate death benefit need at the bottom there. They have other calculators. Maybe it's college savings, right? They want to know, how much do I need to calculate or save for my child? They're going to assume inflation, percentage cost. You can input current savings, input a contribution amount, a rate of return. It can even help calculate what tuition is likely to be for the children. And if you don't know or have an idea what it might be, you can always click on the question mark icon, and the system is going to give you some ideas at different types of institutions what the tuition might be. So there's just a whole host of calculators. Again, these are all geared towards the likely needs of the client that you're speaking to. And then, once you've gone through the appropriate calculators or sent over the appropriate PDFs to the client, if you want to save this for your records, so you have something to reference back to, all you have to do is go up here at the top and click on Save Custom Report, and it's going to generate a PDF with all of this information in there for you. So this might be something, this isn't something that's meant to be given to the client, but this is certainly something for your client files. So now you have a pre-made record of your conversation and some ideas and tips as far as how to interact with them. And again, this, if you don't print it and just keep it saved as an electronic document, all of these links are still active. So you can go to the life expectancy calculator directly from that saved PDF. All right, so that's our millennial example. Now, let's see how things change a little bit if we change the age of our client. We're going to pick somebody a little farther along in their career. Let's look at a 44-year-old. And, this person, let's say that they've got one child under 13, and they have one child between 13 and 21. They're a little farther along in their career. They're maybe not pre-retirement yet, but let's say career building, and they're making a little bit more income. So now some things have changed. I'm going to get to the needs in a second, but if we look at the approach we should take with this person is solidly in Generation X. And if we look at the communication preferences down at the bottom, you know what? You're probably not on the phone with this person. In general, they don't care for phone calls or face-to-face meetings. Just similar to the millennials, they're going to prefer electronic communication, and in this case, it's going to be texting, it's going to be emailing, and letters and social media doesn't really matter. You want to make sure that you're brief, you don't waste time. You certainly want to be using technology, offer multiple scenarios, and be able to substantiate your claim. So with the statistics and the research behind everything. They like to choose options. So maybe present options A, B, and C. And they like things to move quickly, and they are big on purchasing online. So those are all helpful tips to know when you're dealing with somebody of the Generation X. Now, I'm going to go up to the top here to the needs. And if you recall, some of these needs are certainly still the same as they were for the millennial. But now we've added replacing income for the spouse and partner. And we still have support for minor children and college funding. There's now a second column, too, if you see over on the right, cash value opportunity. So we've moved beyond just death benefit coverage to now maybe using life insurance for other reasons, like supplemental retirement income, or maybe a hedge against market volatility. I think they're hinting at using an IUL, where you have a chance to have your money go up when the market goes up, but when the market goes down, you don't lose anything due to market movement. And maybe we want to use a permanent policy to help save for college education, right? These are all items that this particular client might very well be interested in. So if you're not thinking of asking those questions, or if the client doesn't bring it up, the computer's right there in front of you to prompt you. It's like having somebody whisper in your ear or elbow you in the side and say, hey, be sure and ask them about this over here, or you forgot to ask them about this other item. Hey, you're going to be staring right at it. Once again, we have the infographic for Generation X, which will summarize some of these preferred communication methods and primary concerns of folks in this generation. We also have the same listing of calculators and PDFs, although we have a few extra things in here showing up now. We have a piece on protecting your home with life insurance. We even have a loan calculator. Maybe they're looking to refinance. You could help them out with that if they happen to ask about it, or at least what, if it's worth it, you can help them calculate that. There's a budgeting calculator. And we now have a whole section here on retirement planning, right? If they're not sure what their Social Security benefits might look like, or if they're asking, am I saving enough for retirement? What do I need to do along those lines? We've got a calculator for that right here. You can put in their current savings, their age, their retirement age, expected contribution increases. And again, if they're interested in this, there's even a piece that you could send out to them. And in this case, it talks about using Index Universal Life for college and retirement funding. So again, if that was something that came up in conversation, here it is right at your fingertips. You're able to email that to your client as you're having that conversation. And once again, you could click here at the bottom or at the top to save the custom report. And now you have a record and a reminder of your conversation with that client. So I'm going to take a look at a couple other scenarios here too. We're going to make this client a little bit older, and we're going to put them into what hopefully the computer will call the pre-retirement age. And let's say this person is 58. They no longer have a child under 13. Let's say they still have one that is between 13 and 21, and maybe now one that's over 21. And let's say that they're in the pre-retirement phase. And so what does that do? So first of all, that puts this person into the baby boomer generation, and that changes a little bit as far as the how we want to communicate with them. So unlike the younger generations, they actually prefer phone calls and face-to-face meetings and email. Letters are neither here nor there. That might be something that could be preferred by the generation older. And this is probably not a person you want to be texting or communicating with through social media. Maybe they don't even have social media accounts. They probably are not on Instagram. From my experience, yeah, they're on Facebook. But they're going to be fine with a phone call or a face-to-face meeting. They're interested in personal relationships, and they appreciate experience, letters behind your name, so accreditations. They're still big on brand names, companies that they recognize. Just some things to keep in mind if you're dealing with the baby boomer generation. As we get to this person's needs, I said we had a 58-year-old, and they're in sort of the pre-retirement phase. As far as life insurance needs, most of those are still the same. We still need support for children, but now once again we're getting some other needs coming into play. And I covered some of these in a recent webinar on asking the question, do you still need life insurance during your retirement years? And some of those reasons are now appearing on the screen for us, like replacing lost Social Security income for a spouse. We know that when one spouse passes away, if the two are receiving Social Security, one of those checks goes away, and it's the smaller one. So at least you get to keep the larger of the two, but you don't get both of them anymore. Is that going to be a problem? Do you need to replace income for that reason? College funding is still in there. Now we've added, though, a need for care for aging parents. Maybe one member of the couple is going to be faced with that in short order. They may have to stop working. How do you replace that person's income for that purpose? A disability policy won't do it because they're still healthy and able to work. They're just doing something different. So that could be something to consider. We're still looking at life insurance for cash value accumulation purposes, supplemental income. But now we're also starting to look at accelerated benefits. Those will become important to folks in this stage of their life. Critical, chronic illnesses. Sometimes these are true long-term care riders on life insurance policies. Almost every company has something like that, and that starts to be a major concern around this time period. And also the client might be concerned about outliving their assets. Do I have enough retirement income to last as long as I'm projected to live? My parents are in their 90s. Wow, maybe I'll make it to the upper 90s or 100. I don't know if my retirement account is going to last that long. Well, you need to start having that conversation, and that's something that could be solved in part by a permanent life insurance policy. If we take a look at the bottom, we've got calculators. Once again, we've got PDFs. We can still help determine the amount of life insurance. We're still talking about college education. But now we have a piece on, how do we care for an aging parent? Do we need life insurance beyond our working years? Well, the IG has a piece on that. Maybe I should have used this in the webinar the other week. And then some ideas about maybe using two policies instead of one. We have pieces now on chronic illness. How do we protect against that huge expense? And of course, the retirement planning pieces are still in here as well. So as you can see, you change your client's age and their economic conditions, and different pieces that are appropriate for that scenario will pop up. I'm going to do one more change here and look at a client who is, let's say this person is 67, and they're married. We no longer have children under 21. We've got children over 21, and they are solidly in their retirement phase. All right, so it still makes this person a baby boomer, so the approach is going to be the same as it was for the 58-year-old. Now our insurance needs have changed a little bit. We still have the basic funeral expenses, paying off a mortgage or debt, care for aging parents, but some of those other items involving children have now disappeared. We still have the need to pay for chronic and critical illnesses. I wonder if I change the income, if I can make estate planning needs show up here. Let's just see what that does. If we go to 250,000 plus, yep, well that's in here. So estate liquidity needs, which is really the same thing. A lot of people don't realize that taxes on any qualified money, like IRAs, 401ks, have to be paid within 10 years after their death. Life insurance can certainly help pay those taxes. So that becomes a need there. And I bet if we scroll down to all of the tools, we're going to see some additional items that have now appeared. And some of these are the same. Here we go. Here's one. We now have an estate tax calculator. We have a net worth calculator. We have a piece you could send the client on estate planning. This is one I haven't seen before. A piece on preparing for death, and another piece talking about surviving relatives. As we move through the generations, some of these needs become more pertinent than others. And we still have the piece here on chronic illnesses. And we can always save the report. At the bottom of this, we do have some more general information on the various generations, millennials, Generation X, and baby boomers. If you want some more generalizations on how to work with those clients. So that's the Generation Station client analysis software from AIG. Again, there are no passwords needed to get into this. All you need to do really is either save the link. That's what I would recommend. Put it in your favorites, or go through the process I did of a Google search and put in AIG Generation Station, and until you get there, and you'll see it. So that's the conclusion of today's webinar. This will be put on our YouTube channel, and I'll answer questions here in just a second. But this was part of a 6-part series titled Life Insurance Basic Training, designed to walk you through really everything you need to know to start quoting your clients' life insurance, and asking the right questions, using the appropriate calculators to help get them the coverage that is appropriate for their situation. And certainly having software like this from AIG up on your desktop as you're interacting with clients is going to help tremendously in that regard. So I want to thank everybody who joined us today and in the previous 5 sessions. If you missed the previous 5, they are also on our YouTube channel, so just search there for the Life Insurance Basic Training sessions. And we'll get to the questions here. I want to thank everybody for their time.